Welcome to Mind Growth Mastery, where we focus on self-improvement and personal growth. Today, we're going to talk about an essential aspect of personal growth: self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of a healthy and fulfilling life. It's about setting boundaries, standing up for yourself, and demanding respect from others. In this video, we'll explore the definition of self-respect and the importance of having it in our lives. If you want to learn how to build and maintain your self-respect, stay tuned. This topic is critical for anyone looking to improve their relationships, careers, and overall well-being. So, let's dive in. 1. Disrespectful communication. Disrespectful communication is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes name-calling, interrupting, and raising one's voice during a conversation. Name-calling is a form of verbal abuse and can be hurtful and damaging to one's self-esteem. Interrupting during a conversation can show a lack of respect and interest in what the other person is saying. It can also be seen as a form of control in a conversation. Raising one's voice can be intimidating and can escalate a conversation into an argument. It can also be a form of emotional manipulation to gain control over the situation. A person with self-respect will stand up for themselves and address the disrespectful communication, setting boundaries for how they expect to be treated. 2. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes tactics like gaslighting, playing the victim, and guilt tripping. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse where the manipulator makes the victim doubt their thoughts, feelings, and memories. Playing the victim is when the manipulator makes themselves out to be the victim in a situation, often to gain sympathy and control. Guilt tripping is when the manipulator uses guilt to make the victim do what they want, often by making them feel responsible for the manipulator's emotions or actions. A person with self-respect will recognize emotional manipulation and set boundaries to protect themselves. They may also seek professional help to recover from emotional manipulation and regain control over their life. 3. Physical abuse. Physical abuse is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes hitting, pushing, and slapping. These are all forms of physical violence and can cause physical violence and can cause physical harm and emotional trauma to the victim. Hitting and slapping can cause bruises, cuts, and broken bones, while pushing can cause the victim to fall and injure themselves. Physical abuse is never acceptable and should be reported to the authorities immediately. A person with self-respect will prioritize their safety and well-being and will not tolerate any form of physical abuse from anyone. They may seek professional help and support to recover from the trauma of physical abuse and move forward in their life. 4. Verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes insults, threats, and blaming. Insults are hurtful comments that are meant to demean or belittle the victim and can cause emotional harm. Threats are statements that create fear or intimidate the victim and can be verbal or non-verbal. Blaming is when the abuser shifts responsibility onto the victim for their behavior or actions and can make the victim feel guilty or ashamed. Verbal abuse can be just as damaging as physical abuse and can cause long-lasting emotional trauma. A person with self-respect will recognize verbal abuse and set boundaries to protect themselves. They may also seek professional help and support to recover from the trauma of verbal abuse and regain control over their life. 5. Constant criticism. Constant criticism is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes criticizing appearance, choices, and actions. Criticizing appearance can make the victim feel self-conscious and insecure, while criticizing choices can make the victim doubt their judgment and decision-making abilities. Criticizing actions can make the victim feel like they are always doing something wrong and can lead to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. Constant criticism can be emotionally damaging and can wear down a person's self-worth over time. A person with self-respect will set boundaries and speak up when they are being constantly criticized. They will also prioritize their self-worth and seek support to overcome the effects of constant criticism and build their self-esteem. 6. Betrayal. Betrayal is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes lying, cheating, and breaking promises. Lying can undermine trust and create a sense of dishonesty in a relationship, while cheating can cause emotional pain and damage the foundation of a relationship. Breaking promises can cause disappointment and can make the victim feel like they cannot rely on the other person. Betrayal can be emotionally devastating and can lead to feelings of anger, sadness, and mistrust. A person with self-respect will recognize betrayal and set boundaries to protect themselves. They may also seek support to heal from the effects of betrayal and move forward in their life with a stronger sense of self and clear boundaries for future relationships. 7. Lack of boundaries. Lack of boundaries is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes invading personal space, ignoring personal space, and disregarding personal feelings. Invading personal space can make the victim feel uncomfortable and unsafe, while ignoring personal space can make the victim feel like their boundaries are not being respected. Disregarding personal feelings can make the victim feel like their emotions are not being acknowledged or valued. Lack of boundaries can be detrimental to a person's emotional well-being and can lead to feelings of anxiety, stress, and discomfort. A person with self-respect will prioritize their boundaries and communicate their needs. They will also enforce their boundaries and remove themselves from situations where their boundaries are not being respected. 8. Being taken for granted. Being taken for granted is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes not being appreciated, not being respected, and not being valued. Not being appreciated can make the victim feel like their efforts are not recognized or valued, while not being respected can make the victim feel like their boundaries and opinions are not being considered. Not being valued can make the victim feel like their presence and contribution are not important. Being taken for granted can cause feelings of resentment and dissatisfaction in a relationship. A person with self-respect will prioritize their value and communicate their needs. They will also enforce their boundaries and remove themselves from situations where they are being taken for granted. 9. Dishonesty. Dishonesty is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes lying, withholding information, and misleading. Lying can erode trust in a relationship and create a sense of dishonesty, while withholding information can make the victim feel like they are not being given the full story. Misleading can make the victim feel like they are being manipulated or deceived. Dishonesty can cause emotional pain and damage trust in a relationship. A person with self-respect will prioritize honesty and communicate their needs. They will also enforce their boundaries and remove themselves from situations where there is dishonesty. They may also seek support too. 10. Negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is a behavior that a person with self-respect will never tolerate. This includes putting oneself down, belittling oneself, and having a negative self-image. Putting oneself down can lead to feelings of low self-worth, while belittling oneself can make the victim feel inadequate and insecure. A negative self-image can lead to a distorted view of oneself, which can have negative effects on mental health. Negative self-talk can damage self-esteem and contribute to feelings of depression and anxiety. A person with self-respect will prioritize positive self-talk and self-compassion. They will challenge negative thoughts and beliefs and work to build a positive self-image. They will also remove themselves from situations where negative self-talk is being used against them and surround themselves with positive influences. In conclusion, a person with self-respect will never tolerate behaviors such as disrespectful communication, emotional manipulation, physical and verbal abuse, constant criticism, betrayal, lack of boundaries, being taken for granted, dishonesty, and negative self-talk. These behaviors can damage self-esteem and erode trust in relationships. It is important to prioritize self-respect and communicate one's needs. Maintaining self-respect can lead to a more fulfilling life and healthier relationships. It is crucial to stand up for oneself and remove oneself from situations where self-respect is being compromised. I encourage everyone to prioritize their self-respect and hold themselves and others accountable for behavior that aligns with it. Thank you for watching this video on the 10 behaviors a person with self-respect will never tolerate. At Mind Growth Mastery, we strive to provide content that promotes personal growth and development. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below and let us know what other topics you would like us to cover. We appreciate your support and look forward to continuing this journey of self-improvement with you. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.